The unemployment scenario in India has been looking broadly positive over the last few months since the second wave of COVID-19 waned, and of course the festive season also helped. But CMIE data for November points to a trend of increase in urban unemployment. Now, this comes at a time when in certain sectors and in niche categories, salaries are sky high. For example, we reported recently that IIT graduates are being offered as much as 2 crores per annum by multinational companies. So what is the overall picture on unemployment and on the economy? To speak more on this, I'm joined now by the MD and CEO of CMIE, Mr. Mahesh Vyas. Mahesh, great to have you back on the show. Hope you're doing well. Let me just get your overview to start for the November data.
The November data tells us that the unemployment rate has come down. It was 7.8% in October, and it came down to 7% in November. So that's a good sign. This has also translated into a small increase in the employment rate, which I think is a more important indicator. The indicator has gone up slightly in the second decimal point, but nevertheless, an increase in the employment rate means a lot because the base of that is the total population. So what this means is that 1.4 million jobs were added in the month of November compared to where we were in October. In October, we had around 400 million jobs, and now we have a little over 402. If you take the decimal points, the increase is 1.4 million jobs. So that's a very positive sign, and I think that's the key headline information we get from there. But
give us a little more perspective. Just a minute, Mahesh. Give us a little more perspective. Why is this addition of 1.4 million jobs in a month crucial? Is this happening for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, or can you just put this in context for us?
No, jobs, you will see jobs increasing and decreasing month after month. There is a declining trend, but that doesn't mean that jobs fall every month. So there have been months when jobs have increased dramatically. Even 5, 6, 7 million jobs get added in a month, and then they drop off afterwards. So there's some seasonality, there is some peculiarity of a month, and these things do lead to job additions. And when the seasonality is over, those jobs go away again. So one did see an increase in jobs in the month of October as well as in September. There were significant increases in September and October, but a large part of that was seasonal. And some of that has gone away, but we still have an increase of 1.4 million jobs in November. It's not a great increase. Mind you, the total number is 400 million. On 400, when you just see 1.5 million getting added, it's not a very big number. But nevertheless, there is an increase. And that's the important takeaway, that unemployment rate came down, employment rate went up, and aggregate employment did go up by 1.4 million jobs. So that's the nice story of November. But lurking behind that, I'm sad to say, is not a very good story. So there are 3 disappointing elements of the November story, which is that the labor participation rate fell and the quality of jobs was not very good. More importantly, urban jobs were lost in a significant manner. So what you alluded to earlier, that urban unemployment rate is going up, that is really true. Unemployment in the urban areas is high, and the share of urban regions in total employment has declined. So that's a bit stressful. The last part is also the third part, which is stressful in the November numbers, is that salary jobs are declining.
You know, this salaried jobs bit is the crucial one because if I look at the Naukri data for November, the Naukri jobs data for November, they're saying that the demand is up 26%. Hiring activity is up 26% year on year. And then, of course, you have these fabulous offers coming in for the IITs on day one of placement itself. In the tech space, in the startup space, there is a bidding war really for talent. But you're saying overall salaried jobs, which is what most Indians aspire to, that is on the decline?
Yes. So we have this problem that there are very few appropriately skilled people in India. So we know that the IITs take very few people in a year, and those very few people will always see their demand increasing because enterprise is looking for good people. As enterprise moves towards higher automation, it will look for people from institutes such as the IITs because you get the best brains over there. But you can't hire many IITians, no matter how hard you try, you can't. And therefore, what will you do? You will raise the wage rate to attract the few people that are there. So the companies will try their best to get these people because there are very few of them, and therefore the wage rate over there goes up sky high. But the demand for lesser skilled people is very low, and that's what we are seeing in the economy. So you see, this is a very small segment, which is the IITians. And let's say even the next category of engineering schools or management schools, that pool is extremely small. And the demand for them is always going to be higher than what we can supply. Therefore, wages will go up over there. Similarly, you will see that places like Naukri.com is going to see a big spurt because there are some industries like IT industry where the demand currently is extremely high for people. Again, mind you, these are skilled people, and therefore the demand over here is very high. There has been some increase in retail trade that we have seen in our survey as well. So what's happening is that for some skills, the demand is very high, but on an aggregate basis, demand is not good enough. So Naukri.com is looking at those people who are seeking jobs. They list themselves over there, but your plumber or your carpenter or your people who are they're selling fruit, so on and so forth, are not the guys who are getting listed on Naukri.com. And their numbers, farmers and agricultural laborers and so on and so forth, are not listed on Naukri.com. Some of them are because they aspire to leave their current trade and get onto some better job. But the bulk of them are not there and they're not getting jobs. So there is this dichotomy that there are few skilled jobs where the demand is very high as the economy is reviving, and there are the rest that are not getting jobs. On an aggregate, we ain't doing very well.
So let me just get a broader perspective on the, bottoming out of salary jobs. Do you put this down also to seasonality, where the spurt of demand that we saw in the festive period may have now ebbed? And, we could maybe look forward to this coming back. Is this a regular occurrence, or is this indicative of a broader underlying issue?
Let's look at it in two ways, by two indicators. One is by looking at aggregate employment. And the second is we look at a ratio, the labor participation rate. That would be the best way to answer your question because the answers are different and slightly confounding or complex. The employment numbers dipped down pretty badly in the pandemic and remained low for a very long time. And they are now starting to look up. So in November, we had 402 million jobs, for example, which is kind of a little closer to the pre-pandemic level, which was 408.5 million. Mind you, we have still not reached 408.5 million, but we are the closest to that number compared to any other month that we have seen since the pandemic. So there is a turnaround. We did not cross 400 million jobs for many months. We have crossed 400 million jobs only in Jan of 2021. So it's very recent that we have seen this pickup, and now we have reached 402. We had gone up to 406. We slid down again. We are on to 402. So what I see in the curve of employment is a sharp fall and a slight increase back again, like a hockey stick coming up back a little bit. It'll take some while before we come back to pre-pandemic levels. So some improvement over there, not great, but still an improvement. Now you look at the labor participation rate. That is steadily declining. So the number of people who are participating in the labor markets, which was 43% of India's population more than 15 years of age, today that number is close to 40% and is reluctant to go above 40%. So that is the stress. While employment aggregate numbers are improving as a proportion of population, we are doing pretty badly. 3% less people are employed today compared to pre-pandemic level, although the gap between pre-pandemic and employment now is just a few million jobs. So we are doing slightly better, but not good at all.
Do you think that the employment rates are not necessarily reflecting everything else that we're seeing in the economy in terms of high frequency indicators, in terms of improvement in consumer sentiment as well, or sales in various sectors? Why do you see that dissonance there?
Well, the dissonance is not only in employment numbers, the dissonance is also in consumer sentiments. Now, the consumer sentiments numbers given out by CMIE tell you the same story, or actually a worse story than the unemployment numbers. So, but we are not the only ones saying that. What we are saying that consumer sentiments are down, which means incomes of households in India are down. They're about 7% lower than pre-pandemic levels. So July 21 compared to July 19 is down 7% or thereabouts. Now, we are not the only ones saying this. This is also said by the RBI survey, a completely independent survey conducted by them, saying consumer sentiments are down. Now, recently, yet another one, Seawater, also did a survey on consumer sentiments, asking similar questions on incomes compared to 2 years ago, and they found the same results. So 3 completely independent surveys on households, and ours is the largest sample, but the rest of them are also representative. All of us are saying that household incomes are down. Now, you can't deny that. Now, fast frequency indicators may tell you that electricity consumption is high, and other indicators are also GST collections are high, but mind you, two-wheeler cars are not doing very well, and many other fast frequency indicators are not doing very well. The most comprehensive number on the economy are surveys like consumer sentiments, employment, and these are telling us on an aggregate we ain't doing well. We need to take cognizance of this.
Absolutely. It's important to look at all aspects of the data. So yes, improvement since the second wave. No great dent right now due to the Omicron, but that's a wait and watch situation. But when we look at data which impacts the Aam Aadmi, and that is employment data and consumer sentiment data, we know that it's not all looking great, though there is definitely an improvement in the right direction. Thank you so much, Mahesh, for joining us and putting all of that data into perspective once again.